Welcome to Talking Technology with NCBI Labs, where we believe that technology is the single greatest enabler for people with sight loss and all disabilities. If you are interested in the latest technology news, products, and innovations, then you've come to the right place.
Hello and welcome to Talking Technology from NCBI Labs. It is episode 32 for the 23rd of May 2023. The weather is really good outside, actually. It seems to be really nice over the last couple of days. We've been getting lucky here in Ireland. So if you're listening to us in Ireland, we hope you've been enjoying the lovely weather out there. It really has been something quite spectacular. But outside of the weather, we have a show packed with content for you today because it is our Braille special and we've got all sorts of Braille topics coming up. We'll be talking to Daniel Lubiner from a company developing a really cool product actually called the Braille Doodle. We'll be talking about that later on. It seems like a really cool product and he'll be along to tell us all about it. Lina Kouzi from the library here in NCBI will be along to tell us all about the process of getting Braille labels on products in pharmacies and so on like that. That's really, really cool. And we'll be talking to Lina about that in just a little while. And later on in the show as well, we will be talking to Derry, Lawler and Petrina about the Hable, a really cool little, it's like a Braille keyboard really, and they'll be telling us about that and telling us what they think of it. We have a packed show, so if you do want to get in touch with us throughout the show, you can do so in a number of ways as always. You can use the Q&A panel on Microsoft Teams if you're joining us live, or you can send an email to labs@ncbi.ie. So, shall we get this show on the road for our Braille special for May 2023. Now, Braille, it's always evolving. And in fact, recently, just last week, British Vogue released their very first issue in Braille after 107 years. How cool is that? They released a Braille version and they released an audio version to celebrate those who are in fashion who may have disabilities, and hopefully that will become a longer term thing. But it just goes to show that Braille is always evolving, whether it's from new technology, new formats, and in recent years the development of UEB and all sorts of cool things. So it's really important to celebrate Braille where we see it, because it is a really, really cool method of communication, reading and writing. And someone who's here to tell us about how they use Braille on a regular basis is Miss Jackie McBrearty. Jackie, hello and welcome to Talking Technology. How are you?
Hi, yeah, I'm doing okay, thanks. Good weather here in Sligo as well.
Ah, very good. Are you out in the sunshine now, or are you cooped up? Have you got a chance to enjoy the sunshine?
No, I'm part vampire. I don't like the heat. So.
Fair enough. You're more of a winter girl.
Yes,
fair enough.
Yes, yeah, big time.
Fair enough. So, Jackie, I suppose let's start at the beginning. What was your first experience of Braille? When did you start learning Braille, and what was that experience like for you?
Well, I started to lose my sight in 1993. So when I moved to Sligo, say 1998, I started to learn kind of the grade one. I worked on a book called Washy, and he was a very small dog. But because it was like 5 years that I hadn't connected letters into words, I had kind of, I felt I had lost the ability to, I could say the letters, but I couldn't say what the letters, what the letters became into words. I wasn't able to do that. So I lost faith in learning it because I felt very self-conscious of, you were in kind of in a group setting and you weren't able to read basically. So I would have left it behind back then. And basically it's fast forward to 2020. We were all in lockdown. I was bored. And I bought a wee Braille keyboard. So I was able to input Braille. I'm brilliant at inputting it, but I still couldn't read. I wasn't, I couldn't use a lift. I couldn't read medication packets, couldn't do anything. I got an Orbit And I said, right, this is not going to beat me. So I would have connected the Orbit to my Kindle, and then I would have got the same audiobook playing. So I would have, say, listened to about 2 minutes of an audiobook. Then I would have tried to read the same things on using the Braille, but again, I was still cheating. I knew what the words were by that point, because I had just, and the same with text messages, I would have got voiceover to read them, and then I would have tried to read them back. But you know, there was still, the connection just wasn't there. So it was a tough journey. It was tough, and I'm still only in grade 1. Like, but for me, the biggest achievement, I had a whopper of a headache, and hand up to the press, and I was going, okay, these are either dog dewormers or something. But I was able to read the word Panadol for the first time ever, a word connected. And then since then, I have been able to use the Orbit, mute voiceover, read text messages, and read stuff using Kindle, because a light went on. And I'm going to hopefully go further with the Braille and learning to read the grade 2 stuff. But for me, it's such a confidence boost that I can walk into a lift and know what floor I'm going to, press the floor I want to go to. I can be sitting there with the speech off my phone and be reading text messages using the Orbit, and again, reading books on Kindle as well. And it's absolutely brilliant. And
so it was like a light bulb moment for you, really.
Oh, completely. It was just that, and I know it sounds so naff, like, you know, Panadol, simple word, but it was just wow. That was the first time that it connected without any help of a speech, of using Audible or using voiceover. The word just clicked. And now whenever I am reading it, I can see the words in my head, and they are, and it's connecting. You know, I was even struggling with that, you know, simple little words, because I had just lost the ability. Words had gone from my head since I'd lost my sight, and you know, being able to, it is such an achievement.
So from even like, this has been as much, by the sounds of it, a confidence boost for you, even as much as a practical boost. Like, what did that mean to you?
Oh, it was phenomenal. Again, I hadn't to depend on somebody to do it for me, and now, like, I read my mum a sentence over the phone, you know, and I wouldn't have done that before either, and she was going, "Oh, that's amazing!" Like, and so it was absolutely brilliant. It was, for me, a brilliant achievement. It was like learning to read, being a kid at school again, you know, learning your Ann and Barry sort of stuff, you know. But it was an achievement, and I would tell anybody to learn Braille for that purpose of the independence of medications, the independence of using a lift, the independence of, if you you know, reading maybe things on doors of buildings have kind of Braille labels and stuff. To be able to read that is a massive achievement. Like.
And what did you find to be like the big difference between using that versus using something like, you know, voiceover or something like that to access information? What was the difference between using like voiceover to read your text messages and then actually being able to say, okay, I can now read it in Braille?
It felt as good, like normal, you know, like I was reading the words rather than listening to the words. That I was sitting there, and then I was able to text the person back, and then, you know, read what I had text back, because I had no voiceover on, and I was able to, and I knew if I made a mistake with a word or something, and I wouldn't have done that before. Like, it would have been all over the place. Like, if I had tried to do that without proofreading it first, but I was able to proofread it using the Orbit. Like.
And how often would you use Braille now?
I would try to use it nearly every day.
Oh, wow. Okay. So like, this has been a massive change for you, really.
Yeah. And I also have a Hable as well. Like I said, I'm brilliant at the inputting. So for the grade, I can do contracted grade 2 on the Hable, on the Braille pen, on the Orbit even, but I can't read the grade 2 yet. So I'm wanting to challenge myself now even more and go into the contractions and learn that, and then the world's my oyster after that. Like War and Peace could be coming on the line, like
Yeah.
you know, something like that. But yeah, no, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's a brilliant achievement for me, and I say a confidence boost as well, that I'm able to connect the words again, and that's a big achievement for me. Like,
From the point that you set your mind on this, how long would you say it took to get from point A to, I guess, point B of doing grade 1 Braille? And then, like, were there many setbacks in that process, or how did you find it?
I would have. It was, I wouldn't be the very most patient of people, so I would have been very frustrated with myself and disappointed myself if I couldn't get something right. So then it would have been set aside, or you know, but it took a good year for me to have the confidence to properly use it and feel, you know, rather than geez, I'll just type it up, or I use the keyboard, using a normal keyboard and type up an email or something, that having the confidence to typing it out in Braille and reading it back in Braille and sending it with the faith that I've sent it right.
That was a big kind of a leap for you then.
Yeah, massive leap, massive leap. Like,
did you ever? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wouldn't have trusted myself to do it.
That's interesting. Yeah. And did you ever, like, have you sat down with the traditional old heavy Perkins Brailer to battle it on the physical sense, with the old Braille paper and so on?
Years ago, back, I'd say 98 was the last time I would have been anywhere near a Perkins. Okay.
And is that an ambition, or are you firmly on the digital side?
Oh no. I would love to be able to write up stuff, even like sort of, if I have to do a shopping list, going out with somebody, I'll be able to say, I need bread, milk, cheese, and them not having a clue what's on the list to be great.
Yeah, there you go. So what's next then is like you're moving on. Are you plan to move on to grade 2?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a time frame in mind? Are you setting yourself targets, or like, are you just taking it as it comes?
I'm taking it as it comes. I'm waiting to do the grade 2 course. So I'm hoping if that comes up soon, I'll be delighted. Like, and because that'll inspire me to change the orbit to grade 2. Because at the moment, like, again, I can write it, but then if I read it back, I'd be like, what the heck? I wouldn't know what the contractions looked like.
Yeah.
So I would need kind of instruction of, this is what the contraction looks like. This is this letter in Braille. This is this word in Braille, should I say? So yeah, but it'll be slow and steady. Like, it might take me 10 years, but I'll get there. Like,
sure. And before we let you go, and just we'll follow up, you feel free to stick around for our Hable conversation as well, because we'll be chatting about the Hable in a bit. But if someone is listening to this and they're like, okay, I want to go on a similar path, and I want to go around to try and learn maybe at least grade 1 Braille, or just see how I find it, what advice would you give them? What worked for you?
Patience. Being patient and learning first, using assistance to, me saying, spelling out the word and asking somebody, what's that word, going really, really slow with it, and not give up. Because, like, I did give up. I did not want to do it. And it took COVID to get me back doing it again, because in 98 I was shattered. I'd lost my sight as well, so that wasn't helping. But I felt embarrassed. I felt kind of that I just couldn't breathe, and I just lost all confidence in myself.
Do you think accepting sight loss helped you learn Braille when you returned to it?
I think it literally was COVID. It was just, this is something I have to do now. Like, I've got all the time in the world here.
There's no excuses.
Yeah, I can't say I have to go out and go somewhere. Like, we couldn't go out and go somewhere. So, it did really, it really focused me, because again, you were spending all day and locked up basically, and it really did help, because otherwise I wouldn't have thought about it. It wouldn't have meant anything to me, but now it means everything.
Well, Jackie, on that note, that's an amazing story to hear, that you can you can go back to learn Braille. And fair play to you for doing it. It's something to be very proud of. So
thank you.
fair play. And thank you so much for sharing the story today, because it is something like I know with myself, I unfortunately have kind of forgot the whole process of reading Braille now. And I know I'd find it tough to go back to it, but what an achievement to do. So fair play to you, and keep it up, and you'll be back, I'm sure, in time to tell us about how you're getting on with grade 2, Jackie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us. An amazing story there. Just to it just shows it can be done. You don't have to it takes a massive effort, but it most certainly can be done. So thank you so much to Jackie for sharing that story. And it just goes to show that, yeah, it can be done, but there is also massive practical benefits to learning Braille. Jackie mentioned there about the Panadol, and our next guest, as it happens, is someone who's been really involved in trying to get those Braille labels on products from pharma companies and so on, and that is Lina Kouzi from the NCBI Library. Lina, how are you?
Hello, David. I'm very good. Thank you very much.
Very good. Welcome to Talking Technology.
Thank you so much. Yes, and you're right. We've been working on this for quite a number of years, actually. There was an EU directive back in October 2005 that stated that all medicines coming on board in Europe would have to have Braille on the packaging. And it was the responsibility of the pharmaceutical companies that were producing the medication to actually make sure that these labels were accurate on their packaging. So similar to print, they have to produce Braille as well. So the print and Braille had to stand side by side on any medicine box produced by any pharmaceutical company in Europe. And it was grade 1 Braille that they chose to do this. So that was back in 2005, and by 2008 we were really heavily involved as NCBI, working directly with the pharmaceutical companies on this. And the reason being was the fact that pharmaceutical companies know all about medicines and all about patient information leaflets that go inside medicines, but they don't know anything about Braille. So we came on board upon request from the Irish Medicines Board in Ireland to help pharmaceutical companies to train them on producing Braille accurately on their packaging. So we did that then, and we continue to do that, and we still do it to this day. So any pharmaceutical company that has new staff coming on board that work with labelling of packaging, they come through to us. They do a day's training on working with Braille, producing Braille, checking Braille, editing Braille, make sure that the Braille is totally accurate before it goes to production. And they get a certificate at the end of that day, basically to say that they're qualified in producing and checking Braille. Now, one of the very important things that we say to the pharmaceutical companies is when they're producing Braille on boxes, they must be very careful with storage of the Braille cartons, so that the Braille doesn't get squashed. If you place Braille on top of each other for a very long period of time,
those dots are getting squashed.
Yes, yeah. It irons out and becomes unreadable. At the point of production, it could be perfect, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to assembly and putting the box together, if it's been lying in storage, squashed on a shelf on top of each other, with a heavy weight of them, it gets ironed out, and they'd have to go back to the drawing board. So that's something that we always teach them to be very aware of their storage of carton, cardboard, and labelling when it comes to Braille.
And do you find, Lina, that you have a good buy-in from the pharmaceutical companies? Have they always been on board, or was that a bit of a struggle in the beginning?
No, they all have to come on board, David. It's not a case they don't want to or they know best. They have to come on board. They have to get the certificate because the regulator, the Irish Medicines Board, who regulates the distribution of medication to pharmacies, and I'll come to this point in a little while, they check all pharma packs in pharmacies. They check them randomly now to make sure that the Braille is accurate. And they look for the certificate from the pharmaceutical company to make sure that they've gone through the training with NCBI, that they know what they're doing basically when it comes to producing Braille on pharma packs. There's quite strict guidelines on, as you can imagine, for the production of Braille. They've chosen grade 1 Braille in Europe, and I'll tell you the reason behind that. And also there's very strict guidelines on the size of the cell, of the Braille cell, and the height of the Braille dot. The reason why they went with grade 1 Braille is because in other European countries, they do not use, a lot of them don't use contractions when it comes to Braille. So if you were to produce Panadol, say, in Ireland, and you were to sell it in France and you went and used English contractions, grade 2 Braille, some of the letters within that word could be contracted, and then when it was sold in France, the person would not be able to read the Braille accurately.
That's fascinating, isn't it? When you think about just the complexity of that.
Exactly. So they decided on grade 1 Braille. So every letter of the English alphabet has a Braille symbol or a Braille equivalent. And it's the same in all European countries, more or less the same alphabet is used in all European countries. So that's why they stuck to grade 1 Braille across the board. But then when it comes to the height of the dot and the Braille cell, there's no playing around with that at all. They're very, very strict around that. And I've seen some beautiful Braille designs come through from printers and publishers using Braille or producing Braille like print. So they have jumbo Braille, they have Braille going over 2 or 3 lines, one word split over 2 or 3 lines. They're taking Braille from the internet, just as any Braille alphabet that they find off the internet, and playing around with it as a graphic design element, and that does not work. It does not work. Braille has to be accurate, and it's very, 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 they're very particular, and there has to be strict guidelines on the production of it when it comes to pharmaceutical products as such. Also, it's not just the name of the medication that appears on the pharma pack. The dosage, the percentage, it's usually in mg that that they use the mg symbol for, like 10 mg, or it's the percentage of the medication that they use within on the label, and they have to actually show that with the pharmaceutical medication. So some medicines, vary. So you can have, I don't know, Panadol 10 mg or Panadol 5 mg. So you need to know that you're taking the right dosage.
Sure.
So it's important to have that 5% or mg symbol on the actual label as well.
And Lina, in terms then of, because this is something that came up when we were looking at doing this topic, is that a pharmaceutical company can do everything right, but
Absolutely.
then the product goes to the pharmacy, and a pharmacist who with all the best intentions in the world, they simply might not know, but they might place a label over the Braille. What happens there? Or is that something that you're trying to phase out or educate on? What happens there?
Well, the responsibility of the Braille, it stops once it's actually in the pharmacy's hand. So in the pharmacist's hand. So if the Braille is delivered accurately to the pharmacy, the Irish Medicines Board, that's it. It's the boxes are ticked. The Braille is accurate. It's been delivered. it's readable, and then the pharmacist is the one that's making this problem occur. They're not doing it deliberately. It's inadvertently. They're not thinking about the consequences of what they're doing. They know there's Braille there, but they're not actually thinking about the importance of Braille and why it's there. So in some cases, they're sticking a print label with the patient's name on it and the name of the medication on top of the Braille, because usually that's the blank space on the actual carton. So they find the blank space and they stick it on top of the Braille. If you try to peel that off, the Braille comes off.
The Braille comes with it, yeah.
And it's unreadable. So really what needs to happen, David, it's not the pharmaceutical companies' responsibilities, it's the pharmacies on the ground that have to be educated around the importance of not placing a sticky label or any label whatsoever on top of the Braille. Because as Jackie mentioned, she reads the Braille on Panadol, and that differentiates it from other medication that's in her medicine cupboard, so you need to be able to know what you're taking and the dosage that you're taking, at all times. And having a label over a box completely stops the patient.
It defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But as I said, there is a piece of education that needs to happen with pharmacies, and a piece of awareness that needs to happen with pharmacies around the importance of Braille and why we actually place Braille on pharma packs and the importance of it. As I said, they're not aware of it. They're just doing it without thinking. They're just placing it on and handing out the medication, not realizing the importance of what it's all about.
Are there other issues like that pop up, or does that tend to be the main one?
That tends to be the main one. I know the Irish Medicines Board are very, very strict. If there's any medication, any package that is the Braille is unreadable, for example, if the dots have been squashed down, or even a couple of dots have been squashed down in transit, they will pull all that medicine off the shelf, and it costs. You can imagine how many hundreds of thousands of euro that costs the pharmaceutical company to rectify and get sorted. So they want to do it right from the word go, the pharmaceutical companies. But the error that's happening out there is the pharmacies that are stocking that medication. They're the ones that awareness needs to be created around Braille.
So what does the future look like for Braille on pharmaceutical products, do you think?
All medication, all new medicines that are registered since 2005, which means the majority of medication dispensed now in Ireland that comes in a box or in a bottle with a label should have Braille on it and will have Braille on it.
And if for whatever reason someone comes across something where they feel, okay, this isn't being done properly, should they report it to some organization, or is there any means they can do that?
Yeah, well, the Irish Medicines Board is the regulator on this. So if someone, say, goes up to the pharmacist and the pharmacist goes and sticks a nice big label on top of their Braille, they have to tell the pharmacist. It's not the pharmaceutical company's responsibility. It's the person who sold the product. It's their responsibility because they've modified the packaging. So at the point of sale, at the point of getting that medicine, the patient needs to tell the pharmacist, don't stick any labels on top of the Braille. It's as clear as that.
Yeah.
Don't stick any label. As when they're dispensing the medication, you give your prescription over the counter to the pharmacist. At that point, you say to the pharmacist, don't stick any labels on top of the Braille. You can stick the label on the paper bag that I get my medicines in. That's no problem. Stick as many labels as you want on the paper bag, but not on the packaging itself. I need the Braille to be able to identify it. And that's how, it's the patients that need to start spreading the word around the importance of Braille and why they're using it. And the penny will drop with the pharmacists. I mean, they want to help. They don't want to obstruct this. but they're just not
Absolutely,
aware of it. They're absolutely not aware of it. So it's at that point of purchase that any patient should say to their pharmacist, don't obstruct the Braille in any way, shape or form. Don't put any labels on top of it. If you want to put labels, put it on the paper bag that you're going to dispense the medication in.
Brilliant. Lina, thank you so much for providing that information. It's really valuable information, especially good to know that after it's out of the pharmaceutical company's hands, it's down to the pharmacist's responsibility then. That's really good information to know, especially if people want to be advocates for themselves there, really.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's really important. So, yeah. Lina, I think that's a really good information. So thank you so much for sharing it, and thank you so much for joining us on Talking Technology today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Fantastic. That is Lina Kouzi from the NCBI Library. They've done some fantastic work, as Lina said there, since 2005 when that regulation was coming in, and now it really is true what Lina says. It's very hard actually to find medication these days that doesn't have Braille labels on, which really is fantastic, and it's great to see. So yeah, tell us if you want to in the Q&A panel here on Microsoft Teams, or you can send us messages on social media too. Tell us, how do you use Braille? It's a really interesting one, and medication and lifts, like Jackie was saying earlier, those tend to be really common ones, but maybe you found unique use for Braille. Do go and tell us on social media, email labs@ncbi.ie, or you can tell us here in the Q&A panel in Microsoft Teams. Now, someone who is doing something quite unique and quite cool with Braille is Daniel Lubiner, and he has created a really cool product that is helping to teach Braille mainly to kids, but so many more people too. A really unique product actually called the Braille Doodle. And Daniel joins us now from, I believe, from the States. Daniel, welcome to Talking Technology.
All the way from sunny Florida.
Oh, you're in Florida. Oh, very good.
Yeah, I'm visiting my parents down here in Florida, but it's been a great conversation so far. I want to thank the other people for, sharing their stuff. It's great to hear. And yeah, the Braille Doodle has been very exciting. It's been, getting a lot of publicity, like nationwide over the last year, and I've worked a year and a half on it, over a year and a half. So
you correct me if I'm wrong, but you are or used to be a teacher, Daniel, is that correct?
That's correct. So, just to introduce myself, I'm Daniel Lubiner. I'm the CEO and founder of TouchPad Pro Foundation. So we're like a nonprofit foundation. And before that, I was a teacher for about 25 years. So I taught special education. I taught mostly sighted kids throughout the years, and teaching all types of subjects, all ages, because, if they give you a certificate for special ed, you're supposed to do anything, right?
Yeah.
So, but one of the most cool things that I liked doing was teaching reading to non-readers. So, those first letters, the phonics, putting the words together, and even with, someone with Down syndrome who can start from signing and then getting into their first words. And we would use all types of different methods to try to do this. It's just not like look at the, big print or play with letter blocks, or we would write in sand, and we would use different types of multisensory techniques to try to get, students to internalize the learning. Mm-hmm. So that's just something from the background of where the Braille Doodle came from.
And then if we move then to the actual Braille Doodle itself, What is the product? How would you describe it to our listeners today? What is the Braille Doodle physically, first of all, and how does it work?
Sure. Okay. Just to really finish up my story real quick, I went on to be teaching blind and low vision kids at a school, a large school, and I was teaching them art for 5 years. And then the pandemic hit, and when the pandemic hit, all the kids went home. So the Braille Doodle is like, something good that came out of the pandemic. It was a really rough time for people who are blind and low vision. Mobility, students couldn't see the other students for a year and a half, and we really couldn't teach Braille. We really couldn't teach art. It was just doing the best we can. So that's what gave birth to the idea of having a product that's like this toy that was on Amazon. So there's this toy on Amazon that has a whole bunch of BBs inside the toy and hundreds of holes on top, right?
Yeah.
And if you drag this magnetic stylus over it, the BBs come up and they stick up. However, it's for sighted kids, so if you touch the BBs, they fall back down.
Okay.
So I was like, how can I get something like this, but how can we get those BBs to stick up just right to be able to feel them without them falling down?
Okay, interesting. And how did you go about achieving that?
It turned into a $60,000 question.
That does tend to be the way with these sort of things.
Yes, it was. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this in like 6 months, no problem. But oh my God, it took over a year, and with engineers trying to get the springs just right. So let me just describe the Braille Doodle now for everybody, okay? So it's about the size of a large laptop, So right in front of me is the MacBook Pro 16-inch, so it's about this size, right? For inches, it's about a little more than a foot, so 12.35, 12.75 going one way, and about 9.5 going the other way. And also it's about an inch thick, and it has some heft to it. It's a little heavy because it has lots of BBs in it, lots of metal parts in it. So you have to think about it as like a two-sided tablet, right?
Yeah.
The one side is set up so anybody could start learning Braille straight out of the box. You just start experiencing Braille, you start experimenting with it. And the other side is set up so it has hundreds and hundreds of holes, and inside each hole is a little metal ball. And when you move the magnetic stylus over the surface, the metal ball comes to the surface and it stays there until you want to erase it when you push it back down.
Okay, interesting. And then what does that feel like? Like, does it, like you take it out of the box, and you mentioned the side there where you can kind of learn Braille, kind of get your first experience of Braille. What does that feel like?
Okay, so first I'll describe to you the Braille learning experience, because it was set up from the reading, reading teacher experience. How to, so it's a no-fail way of like teaching Braille, because there's 2 cells for every letter. So it goes A, B, C, D right across, right? The one cell, all you could bring up is .1. So you could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could count the holes where they should be. the dots where they should be, but when you pull a magnetic stylus next to it, only dot 1 comes on.
Okay.
And so you could get an A. Then next to that, you practice. Now these are jumbo Braille cells, so they're large, you know. So it's also be good for adults. You know, we talk about kids, but I think this is just going to be brilliant also for adults in the future to be able to start experimenting Braille in a motivational way, in a fun way, no pressure. You know, you're just playing with it and slowly getting your head around it.
And then, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, the other important thing is when you're learning Braille or learning how to read Braille, when you're learning to read or write, you need to go right from letters to words to sentences. So you can't just have one cell and just say, okay, now I know the A, now I know the B, now I know the C, now I know 2 letters together. No, you have to go on to like, okay, we learned the B, B. Okay, T, T, C, K. So now let's put together cat. So you have cat. So let's write the word cat. Okay, let's write the word cat, sat, fat, mat. And then you put that all together. You say, oh, the fat cat sat on a mat. Oh, you're reading and writing, you know?
Yeah.
So have that space underneath to be doing that. You have 2 lines of 20 cells, 2 lines of 20 cells underneath to be able to just take notes or just write out sentences.
And are you controlling those with magnets then, or how does that work?
Right. Everything is with a stylus, like a pen that has a magnet at the end. So the pen with the magnet at the end, you move it over the dot, and that one ball comes up to the surface and sticks there. And so, you know, just to describe it better too, if we're flipping over the Braille Doodle onto the Doodle side, if you draw a circle, you can feel the circle instantly with the other hand. So, you know, I always say, oh, you use 2 hands, one for the stylus and the other one to feel what you're doing. So you're moving the stylus around in a circle, you feel the circle instantly coming up, and then the circle stays up until you want to erase it. And
so the kind of doodle side is really for almost a tactile drawing, I suppose, more than letters in Braille, effectively. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yeah, but you know, we could do letters on it, but it really opened up a whole mess of possibilities.
Sure.
You know, that was the real cool thing. Is like after we have this drawing surface that's erasable, you know, it's like it opened up a whole bunch of possibility, like just doing graphs, right? So if you're given a graph where 4 cows, 5 horses, 3 dogs, and you know, you got that graph, and then the dogs have babies. They have 4 babies. So now the child has to write down and change the graph. You know, there's nothing out there that could do that I've seen. You know, you just have to get a new piece of paper.
And how have you seen it used in, like, has this been used a whole lot in education and different settings so far? How have you seen it being used?
So right now we're not in manufacturing. Everything has been prototyping, but we are ready for manufacturing. We're ready to go, right?
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of testing. I went to India. You know, it's a wonderful country, and they have a really big need there. Like, we always hear about the 10%, only 10% of kids know Braille. 10% of, I think it's less in the UK. In India, it's less than 1%. So how do these kids stand a chance in getting an education if they're not learning Braille. So that was like one thing that really motivated me, is that this could get an introduction. It's not like, okay, you're going to get this and you're going to start learning Braille and reading Braille, but you could get introduced to it and you could say, okay, literacy is out there. It's possible. I could do it,
It's almost an inspiration tool in many ways, isn't it?
Right. Exactly. And it's something that we could send out to the villages, and let them explore it, by themselves.
Sure.
We could make different covers for the Braille Doodle so you could learn Braille in any language. We could make Braille in Hindi. We could make Braille in Chinese and Japanese, so it just opens up so many different things. And we set this up also like a foundation, so it's a nonprofit. So we're really just going to circulate whatever revenues we get, so people who can pay for it, like institutions, schools, and, if you're able to pay for it, you pay for it, and people who are not able to pay for it, we want to get you Braille Doodles as well. So
Yes. So tell me about the process of, I suppose, the future steps to that goal, that getting it into manufacturing. How much is it going to cost? How will people be able to get it and stuff like that?
Well, right now we're having a Kickstarter. And for those of you who don't know what a Kickstarter campaign is it's just you go on there and you place your order early. That's like pre-ordering something. And you're becoming part of this team. And you're also getting this at like half price. So it's like 75 American dollars now, which is kind of unheard of for this type of thing. So that's another thing that's been really generating a lot of excitement, is to get something that's this inexpensive. But so you get it now at like this introductory price because you're paying for it in advance. And then by Christmas, we're going to try to get it to you by Christmas so you could put it under your Christmas trees or just open it up and have fun with it. And, we aim the charity sort of towards children, but more adults have purchased this than anyone else. Adults who are blind parents who want to work with their kids, blind aunts and uncles who want to work with their nieces and nephews. So it's really been great to see how the blind and sighted world are even brought together by something like this, because you can learn Braille together. Everything's there in front of you.
Absolutely. And do you see, like, in the future, like, what do you see as the future of Braille, as someone who's been working on this project now for, since the pandemic? Like, what's that been like, and, where do you see it all going?
Well, I'm hoping I'm obviously not going to solve the world's problems with, one fantastic problem, but one fantastic product, but I do want to take a bite out of it. I mean, it is disgusting. It disgusts me that in the United States or in Europe, that we can't teach every kid who needs to learn Braille. They should have the opportunity to learn Braille. No question, not like maybe they should, well, we have the technology. No, we teach sighted kids how to read and write. We should teach blind children how to read and write. And none of this crap about, they could see the print, you can make the print bigger, and that leads to a lot of problems because eyesight isn't steady always. So another person put it really well, who's on my team, said, if you can't read print as fast as a sighted person, then you should be learning Braille.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, so that puts a lot more people into that place where they should be learning Braille. So hopefully we could get more awareness of it. We could get more people learning it, just sighted people being able to go, oh, I see this whole system and now it kind of makes sense to me. And all the many ways that it's needed in mathematics, like you could do XY graphing, you could graph equations on the Braille Doodle. So it's pretty exciting stuff. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I know you have other guests, and I don't want to take up all the time. So everybody could check out where we are, TouchPad Pro Foundation. So you just put a .org on that. And so touchpadprofoundation.org, and you could go check out our website. And on the website, there's, buttons all over the place. Go to the Kickstarter, and, you just put in your information. And when the Kickstarter is over, you don't get charged right away. You'll get, in about 3.5 weeks, the Kickstarter is going to be over. So that's when you get charged on your credit card. And then, you wait, and I'll keep in touch with you and all along the way. And then you'll get your Braille Doodle.
Awesome. And just to note as well, just before we did the show today, I did Google literally just Braille Doodle, and the website came straight up as well. So the website is easy to find and a really cool project. So Daniel, well done to you and your team. It's great to see people who are very passionate about it, clearly trying to make a difference on things like this. So credit to you and your team, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, David. It's been a pleasure being on here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. So yeah, a really, really cool project, and it just goes to show, we said at the beginning, Braille is always evolving, and that is testament to that, and it's really cool to see. Absolutely. And another way the Braille is evolving is with a product that we've discussed in brief on Talking Technology here before. But that is the Hable. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Hable is, it's kind of like a little Bluetooth keyboard that can connect to your phone, but it uses Braille to communicate. So it allows you to type using Braille on your phone, effectively like a little Bluetooth keyboard. And two people who have been trying out the Hable for us have been Derry, Lawler and Petrina Finn, and they join me now on Talking Technology. Derry and Petrina, welcome. How are you?
Good, David. How are you?
Not too bad. So, Derry, I'll start with yourself. Firstly, what was your first experience like with the Hable? How did you find it?
Well, firstly, I was surprised to see how small the device was and how light it was. It's a great surprise to me, I must say, and it is kind of configured differently. So I've been using a Perkin style input since the 70s. So this is sort of a new way of learning it. But once I got my head around it, I couldn't believe how easy it was to use, and especially on the iPhone for texting, using Mastodon and Twitter. If I wanted to send a tweet, I'd often say, I'll wait, I'm on the computer today, because I wasn't great. I can use the phone great, but I can't, my typing was much slower. But with the Hable, after the text went in 5 seconds, it was really good. So I love using the Hable, use it every single day. It's a brilliant device.
Oh, fantastic. And then, so you mentioned that it's a bit smaller than what you were expecting. How does it differ from the Perkins style layout?
Yeah, it's very different. So you've got your 6 dots in a vertical line, like a dice, I suppose. There's 6 dots. Your dots 1, 2, 3, and opposite that, your dots 4, 5, 6. So away from you, going from your index finger, below that is dot 2, below that is dot 3, and it's really different. It's really, and you, like in Perkin style, they're long from left to right. These are from, well, the two rows of dots beside you, but they're facing away from you, so you're typing towards yourself. And then there's a dot 7 and 8 for navigation, and they're to the left of dots 1, 2, 3, and 8 is to the right of dots 4, 5, 6. So it's kind of really threw me off when I first saw it, but after about, I'd say 5 or 6 days, it just clicked. It was brilliant, you know. So you can get around you can double tap, you can go into your item, your navigation, you go into your rota and braille away to your heart's content. It's brilliant.
That's fantastic. So then you found kind of that after the kind of 4 or 5 days, you settled into it, and then how did you find yourself using it? What were you using it for?
Primarily for sending text messages on Twitter, on Mastodon, but after a little while, even creating a playlist on Apple Music or Spotify, going around Dice World, playing a few games, and I'm using it more and more, even just for navigating around, going from page to page on my iPhone. I found that, I can always use the iPhone very well, but just the texting, but I'm using it for more and more for navigating around the iPhone as well. So it's brilliant, it's a great device, and it's always connected. Also, when I be on a bus going to work, my iPhone's in my pocket, and I put my AirPods in, and I can unlock my phone, and without taking my phone, I just take the keyboard out and text away, and it's great. Nobody sees the phone.
Fantastic. And Petrina, if I can bring you in here, I think you're on mute, just so you know. So you might need to press Control Shift and M to unmute, or if you're on your phone, just press 6. But what was the battery life like in the device, and how did you find it? Okay, I think we might have some trouble connecting to Petrina there. So we'll stick with yourself, Derry, just for the moment.
We'll answer your battery life question.
Yeah, sure. Fire away.
I got this on the 15th of March, and I charged it up then, and I haven't charged it since.
That's amazing.
It's
still going.
Yeah, it's still. I don't know how long it takes for the battery to go down, but it's an incredible device. It's so small and so light. You know, when you hold it, you won't notice in your short pocket. It's so light, and the battery is fantastic.
And that's amazing. And like, do you find yourself using it every day then?
Every single day, you know, even just when you were talking now, I sent a quick email off to Lina just about the braille on the pharmacy stuff, and I just used it there, you know, just a few seconds ago.
That's amazing. That's a really amazing. Fair play. And is there anything you'd like to change with the device? Is there anything like that you think it could be improved in any way?
I don't think so. I think they've done a lot of improvement. You can update your phone. You can update the firmware on the Hable using the app. I don't think so. I think it's a great device. No, I don't think they could, unless they bring a microphone into, so you don't have to use your phone. But I think that's asking for too much. It's a great device.
Oh, well, you never know. You never know. Now, I have been reliably informed by Mr. John Paul Corcoran that we have Petrina on the line. Petrina, can you hear me this time? Hello, Petrina.
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Hey, there we go. I was getting nervous there for a second, Petrina. How are you?
I got unmuted while Derry was talking. I didn't want to interfere.
There you go. You're all good. So, Petrina, thank you so much for joining us. Just if I can ask you, I guess, what's your experience been like using the Hable?
Well, I got the Hable about 2 months ago. I'll agree with Derry. It's got a great battery life. It's very good. It's lovely and light, and you know the way you'd have a whole load of things between earpods and your phone and everything else. It's lovely and light. With me physio head on me, it's very ergonomic. The dots in it are great because they're raised and you can feel them being clicked down like you used to on a typewriter, we'd say. So you can feel them being clicked down, so you know exactly what you're typing in Braille. I would have used the screen reader, or not sorry, screen reader, the Braille enabled screen on the phone. So I would have been used to the 6 dots side, like 3 dots each side by side.
Yeah.
And I would have got the Hable so I could write documents on the iPad because I couldn't use the screen the Braille
screen
input.
Yeah.
The dots. the dots were too far apart. So that's why I got the Hable. So I found it great that you can navigate around quite easily. And as Derry said, you can leave your phone in your pocket. This thing looks like a child's toy, to be honest with you. And it's as light as, like, you know, even I put it down one day and it slipped off the table and I was going, oh my God, so light that you'd think it would smash into pieces in a second. But no, it's hard wearing as well. Yeah, so the only thing I found difficult to get used to in the beginning was when you're writing a contraction. So we'd say you're writing CH. So we'd say you're writing the word ache. So you would write A-C-H-E. So when it calls out the CH, it doesn't say CH, it just says H. It says the last letter of the contraction. So that took me a little while to get used to, you know, missing letters, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just, but I have rearranged my whole phone using the Hable. I've put all my icons together up near the top of the page, the home page, so that I can easily navigate to them. I did a bit of decluttering as well. Easily navigate to them, and yeah, so it's good. It's good for that, you know.
Very good. And did you find it difficult, you know, like Derry mentioned there, that it was a bit of a transition, not too bad, but a bit of a transition all the same from the Perkins style that, you know, I guess many listeners will be used to. Did you have that same experience, or did you adapt to it quickly?
Not really, because I was using the Braille input in that format. So I would have the phone against my stomach facing away, and I'd have like that's 1, 2, and 3 with my index finger, middle, and ring finger on my left hand, and that's 4, 5, 6 with me same fingers on my right hand. So it's the same thing, only they're tactile, whereas on the screen on the phone, obviously they're not tactile.
Fair enough.
So I actually prefer the Hable because you can actually feel what you're typing.
Interesting. And Derry, then if I could ask you, like, was it a you know, had you used like Braille screen input before on the phone, or and did you find like the Hable then to really be you know, a big improvement because you're using a tactile system then?
Yeah, I did use the Braille in, but not on the screen away mode as Petrina was using. But I think the Hable One, once you get your head, for myself now, because it was away from me, I suppose if I was using the Braille input with the screen away mode, I wouldn't have had it so hard. But yeah, it is a great device. And Petrina, I can fix your problem with the ACH if you change the format to words. So every time you hit the letter every time you hit the button A, it'll just say the word rather than the last letter. So that's fix your problem. But yeah, I think it's a great device. I use it every single day, and it's really good. You know, it's worth it.
Oh, brilliant. And there we go. And you're solving problems and everything, Derry. There we go. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. It really is quite a cool product, and one that it seems to be making waves because I remember I first saw the Hable when the first time I think I met, I think it was one of our colleagues from Limerick. He showed me the Hable, and my goodness, what a little unit it is. It's quite a neat little thing, and it's really cool because it can sit in the pocket too. You know,
you don't need a table with a Hable.
I like that, Derry. I like that.
Good.
You do. They should steal that and pay you royalties for that one now, Derry. So yeah, but guys, thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead, Petrina. Sorry,
I was just going to say one of the things I would just sort of like to see changed in the Hable is it can be quite loud when you're typing on it, when you're inputting on it. And like for instance, one night I was here in the bed and my husband was asleep and I said, I was wide awake, so I said, I'll write something up, you know, sort of, but sure I couldn't because it was too noisy. That's the only thing that I would sort of feel, you know, you can't just use it. I thought I was delighted with myself pulling the Hable out of the press, like, and saying, I can do my work here, you know, without getting out of the bed, but I couldn't.
Yeah, fair enough. So maybe a quieter version of the Hable might make sense. It's good feedback to have. So, folks, thank you so much for joining me on Talking Technology today. Really cool product. and one that hopefully we will see evolve even more as time goes on. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, David. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. So that is about our lot for Talking Technology episode 32 today. Man, we've had a packed show for you with all sorts of really cool products and conversations, and we hope you've enjoyed it over the last little while. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, but just a few notes for you as well. In June, we are very excited to be announcing that we will have Braille courses returning. The grade 1 course that will be happening on the week of the 12th of June. And then grade 2 Braille course will be running a pilot on the week of the 18th of June. So we're really looking forward to those. If you do want to get involved with any of them, send an email to training@ncbi.ie. Tell the team there that you would like to get involved in one of those labs courses, and they will happily get you to where you need to go. You can also call the NCBI help desk to request training, or if you want any other technical support, that number is 1-800-911-110. 1-800-911-110 is the number to get you through to the NCBI Technology Labs help desk. And we will be back in about 2 weeks' time for some really great conversation. We're going to be following up on our switching to Android from iPhone challenge. Really looking forward to that. We'll be checking in with Kyron and Mairead to see how they're getting on, and have they thrown those Pixel phones and Samsung phones in the bin, or are they throwing the iPhones in the bin? We'll have to wait and see. And we will also be talking about the IA Labs anniversary. We're really looking forward to the anniversary of NCBI's sister company, IA Labs. Some really exciting stuff coming down the line too. So do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to NCBI Labs on YouTube too. That is it from us for now, but we will be back again in 2 weeks' time for another issue of Talking Technology from NCBI Labs. But for now, thanks to all the guests. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Technology podcast with NCBI Labs. If you would like to support our show, you can visit donate.ncbi.ie. The NCBI Labs Talking Technology podcast is proudly sponsored by IA Labs, the market leader in the provision of digital accessibility services.